Welcome back to Miss Viss's kitchen. Today we are going to make gnocchi. So gnocchi is a pasta that is potato based. I had it for the first time when I was at an Italian restaurant in France. What you're gonna do is you're gonna wash and peel 2 potatoes, 3 or 4 if they're really small. Usually on the end of your peeler there is a piece that you can use to gouge out sections of your potato that aren't good. So here I have a section that I can't really peel, so I'm gonna gouge it out with the edge of my peeler. It's like magic! If your potato has any bad spots like this, you could use either a paring knife to cut that out, or we're going to cut our potatoes into 1-inch cubes and boil them. So you can just cut those pieces out that you don't want. When you cut your potatoes, ideally you don't want really big chunks and really small chunks. I have that because, well, I'm not perfect. Try to cut your potatoes around the same size so that they cook evenly. I'm going to cover these potatoes. I have some water in this pot with them, and whoops! I'm gonna boil them until I can pierce them with a fork and they are soft. You can start with your element on high, but if you do that, you just have to make sure to watch it, because when it starts boiling, you want to turn it down so that it doesn't boil over. All right, my potatoes are boiling. So I'm just going to turn this down to low and let them boil away until I can pierce them with a fork. While I wait for my potatoes to cook, I'm going to work on a sauce. I'm gonna do 2 different kinds of sauces. Gnocchi is really good with some kind of creamy sauce that sticks to it, or just like a really light oil or butter sauce. So I have some basil here, so I'm going to make some of my gnocchi with just a little bit of basil and oil and Parmesan. And I'm gonna make the rest of my gnocchi with a kind of red, more of a rosé sauce. Basil you can cut in a chiffonade, which is, I think it's a French word. Basically, you're going to take your leaves and tuck them inside of each other. I'm gonna cut these stems off because I don't want them. And then I'm just going to cut teeny tiny little strips across. So now I have lots of little chiffonade pieces of basil. The other sauce I'm gonna make is a little bit more of a rosé sauce, and I'm going to start by caramelizing some onions because I love caramelized onions. I'm gonna fry these up in a little bit of olive oil on my stove. All right, I'll put this element over medium heat. And we'll put a little bit of olive oil in my pan. And we'll toss these onions in there to cook up. All right, time to check on these potatoes. Oh, they're nice and soft. Okay, I'm gonna drain these and then I'll show you the next step. My boiled potatoes are in this bowl and now I need to mash them, but I realized I actually don't have a potato masher in my kitchen. My kitchen's kind of a gong show, so I'm gonna try mashing them with a fork, or I might just go at them with my immersion blender and see if that works. Well, that was exciting. So now my potatoes look like this, which is probably not what they'll look like if you have a potato masher. Now, I'll be honest, you can buy gnocchi at the dollar store for really cheap. But this way you know what goes in it and you might actually have fun making it. Plus, I get to add some herbs and make my gnocchi taste super good. Basically, we need to turn this potato mash into something the texture of Play-Doh. So, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. Some recipes have no salt, some have up to a teaspoon of salt, so I'm just gonna sprinkle some salt in there. And I am going to add flour. You can add up to 2 cups of flour. So I'm gonna start with 1 and see how it goes. Okay, another thing I'm gonna add to this mixture is an egg. An egg is kind of like the glue. Okay, my dough is super sticky, so I'm gonna add a little bit more flour. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about this dough. It's a little bit sticky still, but I think it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna make sure to flour my surface really well. First, I wanna make sure my dough is really smooth, so I'm going to knead it a little bit. I'm gonna take a ball of dough, and I am going to roll it into a snake. I don't know if you can see this. I have my little snake here. Oops. So with that little snake, you're going to cut it into about 1-inch pieces. I'm gonna cut my gnocchi and I'm gonna put them on my plate. So just make little pieces. Oh my goodness, I just realized I forgot to do my favorite part about homemade gnocchi, adding herbs. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add it to this pile of gnocchi dough that I have now. Before I finish cutting up all my gnocchi, I'm going to show you how to cook it. So I'm going to turn this element on. I want to boil some water and I'm going to cook my gnocchi in it when it's boiling. So my plate full of gnocchi is starting to stick together, so just sprinkle a little bit of flour on your gnocchi when they are sitting on your plate. Gnocchi takes a long time to roll and to cut up, but it gives you time to think. One thing I want to encourage you to think about while you're cutting and rolling your gnocchi is what you can talk about at dinner time. God created us so that we need other people in our lives, and I think having meals with other people is one of the best ways to spend time with other people and get to know them. So I encourage you to think about what you can do to add to the conversation at the dinner table. Who can you eat with, and what can you talk about? Maybe you're at home alone and you just need to call someone on video chat. Or maybe you're with your family and you just need to have a good story to tell. I went on a hike today and I saw a lizard, so I'm gonna talk about that, I think. All right, now we're ready to cook the gnocchi. My water is boiling and I'm just gonna drop these little gnocchi balls carefully into the water. The water will splash, so you need to be careful. And you will know they're finished cooking when they rise to the top. As your gnocchi rise to the top, you can just take them out with a slotted spoon. I'm gonna put them in a colander so they can drain. All right, these gnocchi are ready to eat right now, but to really take gnocchi to the next level, we're gonna fry them. Here is how I'm going to make my rosé sauce. I have some fried up onions, which I'm excited about, and I'm gonna add some tomato sauce. And if you wanna make a rosé sauce, you can add some milk. But I have this Caesar dressing and I'm gonna try mixing that in. Here is this pinkish rosé kind of sauce that I'm just starting to heat up. I'm frying up my gnocchi here, so I'm hoping to get them a little bit crispy on the outside. You can see my gnocchi are starting to get a little bit toasty on the bottom. The sauce is simmering, so it is ready as well. All right, it's time to make a couple bowls of deliciousness. I have my rosé sauce here. I'm gonna add a little bit of pepper to it. Here are my plain gnocchi. I'm gonna add some chiffonade basil, and then I am going to grate some Parmesan cheese on it. Here we go. Okay, it's taste test time because I want to see which one I like better. This one needs a bit of salt. That is good. So good too. Thanks for coming. I would love to see pictures of gnocchi that you make in your house.